Hello my darlings! Today, we're getting back into book reviews. Now, with me going back to school and doing everything that I mentioned in my last video, I unfortunately don't have the time anymore to read for pleasure, so the two books I'm reviewing today are books I read right before school started and then right in the really easy time of the school year, within the first 2 weeks. The first one I read was Flunked by Calonita. I super apologize if you see this and I mispronounced your name. And then I read that before school started. Literally, I read it while my dad was driving me in my car on the way up to St. Augustine. And then the second book I'm reviewing today, I read the second weekend after school started. And that is Lucky in Love by Kasie West. So, Flunked is actually a middle grader's novel. I picked it up while going to the bookstore with my friends Logan and Carolyn. The children's section actually always has the best stuff in my opinion, especially nowadays. I just feel like things made for kids are just so much better than things made for adults right now. So Flunked is about a girl named Gilly. She lives in this fairy tale kingdom that is co-ruled by Snow White, Belle, Rapunzel, and Cinderella. And she's the shoemaker's daughter and she has a lot of siblings. So she steals from people to sell so that her siblings don't have to go without, even if that means she does. Well, she got caught stealing a couple of times before the events of the book, and so she got caught a third time and got sent to a fairy tale reform school. When I picked this up, it reminded me very much of the book series The School for Good and Evil, which I'll probably end up doing a review for that later, and that is also for middle graders, but it's a fantastic book. Book 4 comes out in a few days, actually. I'm super excited for it. So while Gilly is there, she meets a fairy named Kayla and then a guy named Jax they both also get into a lot of trouble. And this school is run by the Big Bad Wolf, the Evil Queen, Snow White's Evil Queen, and Cinderella's wicked stepmother. And it's basically Gilly just constantly railing against the system and how much she hates being there, while also there's this conspiracy that maybe fairy tale villains can't really be reformed and that there's something deeper going on at school. All in all, while I did enjoy it, this wasn't my favorite. And I feel so bad saying this because if I hadn't read The School for Good and Evil beforehand, I would probably absolutely just adore this book. But since there's so many similarities and I read that first and just absolutely loved it, I just kept making too many comparisons and that really took me out of it. That being said, I do suggest this book because it's kind of quirky and smart-mouthed and silly and the characters are all like that. And I love the theme that anyone can change. The whole basis of the fairy tale reform school is that all these villains from all these fairy tales were able to change and finally become good, productive members of their society. And I really enjoyed that. I like that theme of anyone, even the worst, can change. No matter what everyone else tells you about yourself, you can still change for the better. Now, Lucky in Love is about a high school senior named Maddie. She comes from kind of a poor family, a struggling family, and she's not impulsive. She's doing everything she can to get into college. She's talking about going to UCLA, but one of her best friends, Blair, is really pressuring her to try and go to Stanford, but she wants to go to UCLA to stay near her family. So on the night of her birthday party, when everybody kind of has other things to do and just forgot to tell her, a bunch of emergencies cropped up, she goes to the local convenience store and on a whim buys the Powerball ticket and wins the entire thing. So she goes from having to worry about scholarships and how she's going to pay for college and all of that stuff and how her family's going to fare to never having to worry about that stuff ever again. And everyone in her life knows, except for her cute, charming coworker Seth, who goes to a different school. And when it happens, she can't figure out for the life of herself how to tell him because she doesn't want him to see her differently. So I'm going to level with you guys. The whole reason I picked this up in the first place, I saw it in the Target nearest me. It's because there's a cute guy on the cover. Just my type cute guy. So, and I kept telling myself, like, I don't need it, I don't need it. You're trying to cull your books, you're trying to get rid of a bunch of them, because in a year you have to move somewhere, like you need to get rid of books, not buy more. Of course you can tell how that went. I started reading like the first few chapters on Google Books, like the previews that they have, and I was like, guys, I gotta get this. And so I bought it and read it in like a day and a half, and honestly, it's the sweetest book. I love that, again, it's a really bright, happy story. Usually I like kind of the darker, like John Green style stuff, clearly, considering I started book reviews based on John Green novels. But like Maddie, she has such a good heart. And people take advantage of that, and it makes me so sad. Like, all Maddie wants to do is help people and make everyone else's lives easier, and everybody's telling her, like, you should spend your money like this or like that, or you should do this and that, and she's just like, what do I do? And so much of the book is her learning how to claim herself and make her own decisions and do what she thinks is right, not what everyone else is telling her to do. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, my favorite character in this whole book was the love interest. I adore Seth. He was just really funny and smart and charming, and I'm like, if you were real in 25, you would be perfect. He was just such a great character. He was a lot more flippant and funny to kind of balance out Maddie's more serious nature. He's of Vietnamese descent and he wants to be a filmmaker, and there's just this great exchange and it makes me laugh. Like, when I first read it, I died laughing. It was so funny to me. So they're at the zoo, moving from one station to the next. An elderly woman wearing a sweatsuit approached us. Before she opened her mouth, Seth said, "Straight ahead and to the left." "What?" she asked. "Bathroom," I filled in for him. "Oh, no, I was hoping you could take a picture of me and my granddaughters by the ocelot." She hitched her thumb over her shoulder toward the cage where the small leopard-type creature slept in a patch of sunlight. She held out a bigger camera than I had ever seen before in my life. "You're good with technology, right?" she asked Seth. Seth caught the camera as she practically dropped it into his hands and walked toward the cage. "Because I'm Asian?" he whispered to me. "That, or she's heard you're an amazing filmmaker," I said with a smile back. "Oh yeah, you're probably right. I forgot how far-reaching my reputation is." I'm like, I'm so on board with this kid right now. He's so funny. And the way he and Maddie just balance each other out, like I said, he's more flippant, she's more serious. He never pressures her to do anything she doesn't really want to do, and he actually talks to her and levels with her about her own hopes and dreams, and he later, as the book goes on, becomes more forthcoming with his, and they just have a very sweet relationship together. So as you can tell, I really enjoyed this book. It was just a very light, fluffy read, especially because I read it right as the semester was starting to get super busy. I was already stressed and I was like, I need something happy in my life. So if you need something kind of light and frothy and just really happy, I suggest actually both of these books to you, because sometimes that's all you need is a little brightness in the world. So even though I might not be able to get to them for a while, please let me know if there's anything you want me to read, because I always love having more reading material. I'm actually currently in the middle of Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, and this book called Guitar Notes by Mary Amato. Two very different books, but both one very sweet and one just crazy and a lot of fun. And if you're familiar with both of them, or at least one of them, you kind of know which one I'm talking about. And if not, don't forget to click like and subscribe. All my social media is down in the description, as well as my actor website. And I hope you have a nice night, my darlings. I'll see you later.